Hey folks, welcome back into the Friday Five, and really excited about today's episode. Jeramie Taber, who is one of the brokers here at Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, kindly is going to spend 5 good minutes with us today talking about investment properties. And Jeramie, there's all kinds of formulas, all of that, but today I just kind of wanted to talk to you about what motivated you to decide to get into investment properties, and how do people like the regular Joe Schmo like myself, when we look at it and say, man, is that out of reach? And really it might not be.
Yeah, so Chip, basically what got me started was actually in wanting to build wealth and invest was actually my grandmother. When I was a kid, she would always remind me that I should save my money.
Well, this story is what inspired me to ask you to do this today.
Yeah. So that stuck in my head, and then I was in construction before I got into real estate, and just having to work really hard, a lot of manual labor and all that. And I said, well, there's got to be a better way. And I got into real estate and just really started studying real estate. And one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of the people that were financially free had rental property, had a lot of real estate holdings. And so I just picked up some books on it and just kind of started studying it a little bit. And I actually started out just when my wife and I, we had our first house was just a little brick ranch house. And when we moved, we found a place that had some more land. My wife wanted to have her horses with her, and she'd been previously boarding them. And when we moved, instead of selling the house we were currently in, a friend of mine said, why don't you just rent that thing out? And I thought, I might do that. So that's how we started with our first rental property. We bought our second house, moved in, rented the first one out. And I just noticed that every month, after all the expenses were paid and the mortgage and all of that, there was a little bit of money left over. And I also noticed that the mortgage was being paid down every single month. And the tenant was effectively paying that. And so I told my wife, I said, man, this is the way to make money. If we can do this to scale, then, maybe we can become financially free one day. And so I just started, I continued to study it, and just learned that, basically you have to buy assets instead of buying all of the toys and the things that a lot of people like to buy. Instead, I got excited buying real estate. Old houses, ugly houses are my thing.
It's not just talk, because if you ever saw the car that Jeramie drives, you would know, and he is very proud. You're kind of a Dave Ramsey type deal there.
I am. I followed Dave Ramsey's program all the way through. My wife and I followed it, paid off our debt, and did everything. But we deviate a little bit in that we're okay borrowing money for real estate, for leverage.
But now money is so cheap that you're almost crazy not to.
It is. We were talking about that this morning. How, yes, investor loans are a little bit higher than owner-occupant loans, but we're still talking about in the fives, and money is so cheap right now. It's a great time to just go ahead and buy assets. Now, assets are single families, duplexes, they're a little bit higher in price, but what I do is look globally, and I'll look back over a long period of time. And, there was a time when you could buy a house in Murfreesboro for $40,000. And now a house like that's $240,000. So they're going to go up with time, and you have to invest for the long haul.
For somebody who has had that itch in the back of their mind and they want to scratch it now, what would be your advice for step one? Would it be to, consult your a mortgage banker, or just kind of or consult a realtor to kind of just get involved and find out what the actual inventory might be out there?
Well, finding a good realtor is always good if they have, good number skills and they understand the market wherever you're going to invest. But also getting with a lender would be smart to see where you're at. I recommend that people, kind of follow the Dave Ramsey program and at least get their finances kind of on a solid foundation before they start investing, to where they've got a little bit of a foundation there, and then start looking at picking up, rental properties. And I mean, once you have one or two or three rental properties under your belt, the banks will lend to you very liberally, because they can see that you know how to manage property, and it's not hard. Pick up a book.
Is the first one the hardest? I mean, even just to make that leap and to do it?
Maybe, especially for people that have never done it before, it can look daunting. But I can tell you, in the downturn, I had a lot of friends that went down with doing development and doing construction and doing all these things. And the one area that I noticed that I did fine when the economy crashed was my rental property. My rentals stayed rented. They all did fine. I didn't have any hardship because of them. So it's really, in my mind, it's the safest way to go.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. A lot of good information there in a short amount of time. And like I said, today we didn't want to dive too deep, but just kind of hit it from above. And maybe this inspires somebody that wants to get into it. And I, without even asking Jeramie, I can tell you that if you're somebody who is interested in that and might have a specific question, don't hesitate to call him. He'll always answer. And just call here to Exit at 896-5656 and ask for Jeramie. He'll certainly get back to you. Appreciate it, pal.
Yeah, man.
Thanks a lot. All right,
Thanks, Chip.
guys, that's the Friday Five for today. We'll have another good one for you next week.